The new book, Young Forever. Now, I really like it because there's a real practicality throughout it. I just want to ask you, though, why this topic, right? Why the topic of aging? And perhaps you could also share where you are in your life. If you're happy to share your age, why is this so important for you?
Well, I always joke, everybody's favorite radio station is WIFM. What's in it for me? And I'm 63, so I'm interested in what's in it for me, because I don't want to age poorly. I want to be vibrant and do all the things I love to do, whether it's go skiing or gallop down the beach on a horse or go for a long bike ride or do whatever I want to do. I don't want to be limited. And I want to be able to enjoy life fully and travel and do all the things that really give me joy and make life meaningful. And to be able to show up and do the work I want to do in the world, and to be engaged and focused and healthy, to be able to actually show up for the people that matter and my relationships, to be in contribution. And so in order to do that, I have to be healthy. And so I'm very interested in the topic of how you stay healthy as we get older. But I also find, and by the way, biologically, according to new metrics that we can use to measure our biological age, I'm only 43. So I'm still pretty young. And the truth is, I wanted to focus on this topic of longevity and longevity science because, unlike other disciplines in medicine, this is a relatively new field of research. And because in the past, we thought there was nothing we can do about aging, that we actually just need to actually stop worrying about it and deal with the disease of aging, instead of actually having the things that we can actually do something about. And from a functional medicine perspective, I found the longevity science kind of being almost a representation of the truth that we've known a long time in functional medicine, that their body is a system, that there are underlying root causes of disease, that if we want to really deal with all these diseases that we see, the 155,000 diseases that are in our international classification system, that we need to sort of go back to understand root causes. And in longevity science, there are 10 hallmarks of aging that have been discussed that are underlying all the disease of aging. So heart disease, cancer, diabetes, dementia, the aging process itself, frailty, all those things we now understand are not normal processes. They're abnormal processes that are resulting from disturbances in these fundamental systems or functions. And when they go wrong, we call these the hallmarks of aging. But we can intervene with these things. And they're very much in the functional medicine kind of framework of the body as a system of dealing with root causes. And so I thought by focusing on longevity science, I could help to elucidate what I thought were the flaws in it, which is that it didn't go far enough to look at the causes of the hallmarks. So the hallmarks of aging are the causes of all the diseases in aging. What causes the hallmarks in the first place? And that's where functional medicine comes in, to be able to be a detective and find out where the imbalances are and how we can correct them so we can positively influence these hallmarks of aging.
Yeah, Mark, since we last spoke, there's a lot of new listeners to this podcast, and some people may not be familiar with the functional medicine approach. So you sort of outlined some key tenets there, which are really interesting. But I wonder if you could just give an overview for people who think medicine is medicine.
Yeah.
Maybe for someone who's never heard about the difference before, how do you sort of briefly summarize the key differences between conventional Western allopathic medicine and the functional medicine approach?
Well, functional medicine is really what will be medicine. It's a whole view of biology that's shifting from a reductionist disease-based model to a systems model of understanding the body as an interconnected network of biological systems that we have to treat as a whole. And functional medicine from the perspective of the patient is about not treating all the individual symptoms and diseases separately, but really treating your whole system. And I'll just give you an example that illustrates the clear difference. This is a patient that I talk about in the book, Young Forever. She was about a 50-year-old woman, business executive coach, who had all sorts of problems. Psoriatic arthritis, which is a terrible condition of the skin and joints. It's quite kind of debilitating. And she was on a drug that cost $50,000 a year for this, an immune suppressant. She also had terrible irritable bowel syndrome and bloating. She had been on lots of antibiotics and steroids. She also had reflux. She had depression. She had insomnia. She had migraines. She also had prediabetes, was overweight. And so rather than treating all her diseases separately, which were being done, right? She saw the psychiatrist for her depression, the endocrinologist for her prediabetes, the neurologist for her migraines, the gastroenterologist for her GI symptoms, the rheumatologist for her psoriatic arthritis. And she was given the best possible treatment by all these physicians. They were excellent physicians doing exactly what we were taught in medical school and what is exactly the current state of treatment for each of these diseases. However, she was not better. She was marginally improved and her symptoms were mostly or partly managed, but she wasn't better. And so rather than saying, well, I'm just going to kind of up your dose of these drugs or that drugs, I'm going to get to the root cause. And all the diseases that she had were all inflammatory diseases. Her diabetes, her prediabetes, her weight issues, her migraines, her depression, her psoriatic arthritis, obviously, her gut issues. These are all inflammatory. So from a functional medicine perspective, we go, what's causing the inflammation? And I joke and I say I'm an inflammologist, which is actually what we need to be if we're studying longevity, because the whole process of aging is called inflammaging. And so rather than treat all these things separately, I said, well, her gut is where 70% of her immune system lives. She's having terrible gut symptoms. I guarantee you she's got a leaky gut. She's got probably bacterial overgrowth, yeast overgrowth, and a leaky gut, and lots of food sensitivities and reactions. So what I did was simply put her on an elimination diet. I got rid of all the sugar, processed food, gluten, dairy, obviously alcohol, and get her on a whole foods diet with good proteins, lots of good fats, lots of fruits and vegetables. And I said to her, take a fish oil, a vitamin D, probiotic, super simple regimen of supplements that I thought she needed based on her history. I said, don't stop your medication, but just continue to do this and we'll check back in and go over everything in about 6 weeks. So she came back 6 weeks later. She'd stopped all her medication, including the $50,000 drug for her psoriatic arthritis. And I didn't tell her to do it, but she stopped everything. Yeah. Her symptoms were completely gone from everything. Her skin was cleared up. Her joints were cleared up. Her migraines were gone. Her depression was gone. Her insomnia was gone. She lost 20 pounds. Her irritable bowel, her reflux was gone. I also gave her stuff to reset her gut, and a non-absorbed antibiotic and an antifungal that got rid of all the bad guys in her gut that were causing all this inflammation. So this is a case that I really focused on the root cause, which was her gut, to treat all these other problems. And when we got her gut healthy, everything else went away. So when you create health, when you create a healthy system, take out the bad stuff, put in the good stuff, the body has a chance to repair and renew. And that's what's really the exciting part, Rangan, about the longevity research, is that now we understand that the body has this extraordinary ability to renew, repair, rejuvenate, and reverse our biological age. Just as our skin has the ability to heal when we cut it, our body has that innate healing system. We've just done everything possible to interfere with it, to impede it. And the book, Young Forever, is really a roadmap on how do you actually activate these ancient embedded healing systems in our body that can reverse our biological age and make us younger as we get older.
Yeah, that was brilliant. It's a really great summary, and it really showcases how this systems approach that you have been, talking about for many, many years now, beautifully fit alongside the new science of longevity. And I think that was one of the really rewarding things about reading Young Forever was that, yes, this systems biology approach works beautifully for aging. It's the same approach in many ways that you've been talking about, and I've tried to for many years now. But actually, when you apply it through the lens of longevity, you can actually see it in a completely different light that's very, very empowering for people. You mentioned, Mark, biological age and chronological age.
Yes.
Please explain for people who don't know the difference.
Sure. So, I'm 63. I can't change that. I was born in 1959, and that's going to progress inevitably toward, however many years I'm alive. However, my biological age is my age on the inside. It's not my chronological clock. It's my biological clock. And we now know that we can measure our biological clock and our rate of aging through a specific test called DNA methylation. It's something relatively new, and it tests what's called our epigenome. Our genes are fixed. We have 20,000 genes. We can't change that, or 25, whatever. But we have on top of those genes a regulating system. Epi means above. And the epigenome basically is like the piano player that plays all the different keys, which are our genes. We've got 88 keys, but they can play thousands of tunes. You can have rock, ragtime, jazz, blues, whatever, classical. all in the same 88 keys. Same thing with your epigenome. And it can control your biology in real time in ways that either accelerate or reverse the aging process. And now we know that a lot of the interventions that we discuss, whether it's diet and exactly what to eat, how to eat, and so forth, exercise, the types of exercise, stress reduction, sleep, environmental toxins, nutritional level, our microbiome, all these things influence our epigenome and can change it either into something that's causing us to age fast or slow, or reverse our biological age. So if you're eating ultra-processed food, you're not exercising, you're under tons of stress, you're not sleeping, you're nutritionally deficient, you're exposed to toxins, guess what? Your epigenome is going to be bad. You will be older than your chronological age as opposed to younger. So we know through interventions, even short interventions of, for example, 8 weeks, of aggressive lifestyle and dietary change with functional medicine, you can reverse your biological age by 3 years. So in 8 weeks, you turn back the biological clock by 3 years. That's profound.
In 8 weeks?
In 8 weeks, yeah.
And
so,
I mean,
I'm 43. I'm trying to get to 25. We'll see how it goes.
but you know, I think that's a key point here, Mark. When a lot of people think about longevity, right? I think there is a slight mismatch in their brain where it's like, well, why should I be bothered about what happens in 20, 30 years? I want to live my life now, right? So there's always been this slight disconnect. Whereas what I love about the things that you recommend in Young Forever is that, yes, it's going to slow down the aging process if that's your goal, but it's also going to help you feel great, like straight away, right? So it's not something that we can kick down as the future. It's going to have an immediate impact on the quality of your life.
Immediate. Yeah, absolutely. It's adding more life to your years, not just years to your life, right? So how do you actually feel good to do what you want in life? That's what this is all about. How do we be a more engaged society? How do we become more connected to each other and supportive? How do we actually change this sort of this inexorable sickness, both biologically and psychologically, that we see in our society? And a lot of it has to do with our biological health. We know that our mental health is connected to our physical health. And a lot of the sort of raging depression and anxiety and mental health issues that are exploding across the globe are really related to, our overall stress as society, but also to the food we're eating. That literally the dietary things that we do drive our poor mental health, and that particularly starch and sugar and processed food, and that can be changed, and that'll give us a sense of purpose and meaning and ability to do whatever we want.
You posted a photo on, I think it was on Instagram a few months ago, of you in your 40s and you now in your 60s, right? And there was quite a noticeable difference. Right?
There was,
I think if people didn't know, they may not be sure which one was which. I think you can tell which one's which from looking at your face.
I had a little more gray hair.
But why did you post that? What was so important for you to show people?
Well, I think two things. One, when I was in my 40s, I was athletic. I was running. I was biking 100 miles. I was very active. And I was eating what I thought was healthy, which was whole foods, but I tended to eat a lot more carbohydrates, a lot less fat and less protein. And I didn't do resistance training. I thought, I'm doing yoga, that's good enough, or I'm doing, biking or running. And I didn't. And so when I was 60, I decided to start doing resistance bands and strength training. And I also have changed my diet over the years to be much more low glycemic, to be higher in protein and fat, and lower in starch and sugar, with lots of phytochemically rich fruits and vegetables. And I noticed my body composition change. I went from 12% body fat to 6% body fat. I had, increasing health and strength as I got older, which I think most people don't see. They see, as you get older, you lose muscle, you become more flabby, and that is truly usually what happens. And that is the death knell. If you want to age fast, then don't exercise and keep your diet high in starch and sugar and low in protein and fat. And that's the recipe for disaster. It's really the recipe that most of us are following. But the body has the ability to, as I showed in that picture, to change radically at any age. So I've seen people, even at 80, 90 start to do things, and you see their strength and their function come back.
If you enjoyed that clip, here's another powerful clip that I think you are really going to enjoy.